Stumbling home, we don't know where we're going. Should've turned back hours ago. Out of our minds, I guess we're sleeping outside. You're still a good time, even in the cold.
Hello, welcome to Defender Adventure. We are Paul and Chrissy from the UK, and with our Land Rover Defender that we have called Sterling, we are travelling the world.
Guess we need a new plan. There's a motel a mile down the road.
Welcome to the Alabama Hills.
Sandwiched between the small town of Lone Pine and the eastern Sierra Nevada mountains, this National Scenic Area in California is towered over by Mount Whitney, America's tallest mountain in the lower 48. The area is well known amongst the overlanding and RV communities for its dispersed camping, but Alabama Hills is most famously known as a filming location for television and movie productions, especially Western films. Hundreds of movies have been filmed here, some in total, some in part, including How the West Was Won, Django Unchained, The Lone Ranger, and then more recently Iron Man. Just about every major Western actor has filmed here in these rocks. Actors such as John Wayne, Gregory Peck, Roy Rogers, Robert Mitchum, and now Paul and Chrissy. We spent 3 days here, hiking and relaxing, enjoying the beautiful scenery and fantastic weather as we prepared ourselves for our next destination, Death Valley National Park. While Chrissy prepares breakfast, I'll bring you up to speed with our year so far. We arrived back in the States at the beginning of January 2022. We have been pretty busy since then, spending the majority of our time and money on a complete overhaul of our solar power and battery system. We did this in Northern California with the assistance of a good friend that we met in Mexico. Once our upgrade works were complete, we went on what is known as a shakedown trip. Firstly to the Mendocino National Forest, and then from there over to the coast and the Redwood National Park. We arrived in the Mendocino National Forest late in the afternoon, and we quickly realised that we had underestimated just how poor the quality of the roads were in the forest. The going was so slow that we failed to make it to our campsite that first night, and we ended up camping in a small area to the side of the track. We realised in the light of the morning that driving in the dark would not have been a wise choice. The going continued to be slow that following morning, and after the high winds of the previous night, there were even more obstacles that had to be dealt with. Some of the smaller fallen trees were dealt with pretty quickly, even though I say so myself.
Cut that bit.
But there were other obstacles, however, that took a lot more time and effort. It took many hours that day to eventually reach our first developed campground, but from there on, things went a lot more smoothly. And we spent a most enjoyable few days exploring the forest and its wildlife. With our time in the forest over, we drove towards our next destination, the National Redwood Parks, but not before an overnight stop along the way at California's Lost Coast. we took an early morning hike along the coast to see these guys. Elephant seals. The seals populate this part of the coast every year to have pups, to get it on with the ladies, to weigh up the competition, and if not happy, to see off the competition. They were great fun to watch for a couple of hours. Leaving the elephant seals to do their thing, we headed further north to the Redwood National and State Parks, just south of the Oregon border. We camped at the Prairie Creek campground and spent a couple of days enjoying the large trees and some coastal elk. Satisfied that both we and the vehicle were ready to go, we headed south down the scenic 395 to find some warmer weather, which brings us back here to Alabama Hills. And just in time, as it looks like breakfast is finally ready. We originally planned to go from Alabama Hills to Death Valley National Park. But before we did, there were a couple of things we wanted to see along the way. The first was Manzanar, the site of one of 10 American concentration camps where more than 120,000 Japanese Americans were incarcerated during World War II. Their only crime was having Japanese ancestors. I won't give you the full history here, but I would recommend having a look on the internet. It is a part of history that we simply weren't aware of. From Manzanar, we took the long road to Death Valley via the Cerro Gordo Ghost Mine, located in the southern Inyo Mountains at an elevation of over 9,000 feet. Superbly preserved, it was a fascinating look at mining in the 1800s. Chrissy, I hope you know what you're doing with that. We spent a couple of hours on a self-guided tour and then headed over the pass and slowly worked our way down the mountain. Crossing Lee Flat Joshua Tree Forest, before finally reaching Saline Valley Road and shortly after the entrance sign to the park. Our first real view of the valley came from Father Crowley's Vista Point. A great place for a break and some lunch. We had great plans for Death Valley and intended to spend several days there. It is, after all, the largest national park in the lower 48. However, we arrived at the same time as a high wind advisory, which advised of extremely high winds for the next few days and nights. With virtually nowhere to shelter in the park and us unable to camp safely in high winds, we were left with no choice but to cross the valley and exit the park to the nearest town. Over those mountains is Death Valley National Park, and this road straight ahead takes a path through the mountains and into the park. But rather than take the obvious route, we're going to take a slightly lesser used route that will bring us into the park through Titus Canyon, and the turning for that is just here. That is where we've just come from. We descended to the floor of the valley and came across this sign. We paused briefly to look at what remained of the old mining town, but there wasn't much to see. The scenery had been stunning to this point, but shortly after the old mine, we began to enter the walls of Titus Canyon. As the walls of the canyon gradually closed in on us, we began to consider our options for that night. The high wind advisory was still in place, and it was staying there for the next few nights. But by the time the canyon ended and we returned to the vast open space that is Death Valley, we had agreed there was only one place we could go from here.
Alright, let's get ready to rumble. It's the Battle of the Sexes in Las Vegas. Paul versus Christy. Who's gonna be the winner?
On the way to catch a ride.
And we're going to have a challenge. We both make a $10 bet in 10 casinos. One bet, black or red, win or lose, and we'll see who's got the most money at the end of the day.
First things first, energy boost for the big day ahead.
We walk along that street, talking nervously. Closer, won't be long now. You made me write this song, yeah. We safe but don't know how. We far away from town. We talk until we can't no more. You know one like I found before. Track of the time now. The moment is right now. Time now. The moment is right now. I've been here before. I've been here before. It feels like you're mine now. No need to pretend how. 'Cause we're like it. Felt like summertime till you were gone. I fell in love with you. And now I can't wait for summertime. It won't be long when you come back. I love you like I do. Love you like I do. Love you like I do. We barely know each other, but I'm sure that we could do it right, yeah. Been talking day and night, yeah. Love like we're moving slow, us on the radio, feeling each other in the sand. No time to waste, so take my hand. Track of the time now, the moment is right now. I've been here before, I've been here before. It feels like you're mine now, no need to pretend how. 'Cause we like it. It felt like summertime till you were gone. I fell in love with you. And now I can't wait for summertime. It won't be long when you come back. I love you like I do. Love you like I do. Love you like I
do. If I'm honest, after lunch and a couple of beers, we kind of lost score. So we've agreed that it's all level, and we're back at the hotel we're staying in, and we're going to have a decider. Yes, victory!